Today we are doing part 2 of section A of the Streatham Clapham High School paper that we started yesterday. Part 1 you will find in the video description below. So today we are going ahead and starting with question 17, and we'll be doing from this question onwards. For question 17, let's look at these numbers: 243, then minus 81, 27, minus 9. Well, if we ignored the signs, it just looks like they're getting 3 times as small. But if we just divided by 3, this would be 81. And then 81 divided by 3 would be 27. Then we'd have 9, 3, 1. But actually what's happening here is we've got a minus sign every other number. So we're not dividing by 3, we're dividing by minus 3. So minus 9 divided by minus 3 gives us 3 still. But 3 divided by minus 3 gives us minus 1. Therefore, the answer is C. 18. I left home for school at 7:22 a.m. and arrived at 8:16 a.m. How long did it take me to get to school? So we start off at 7:22 a.m. We reach school at 8:16 a.m. Somewhere within that time is 8 a.m. So to get from 7:22 a.m. to 8 a.m., how much have we added? We've added 38 minutes. And from 8 a.m. to 8:16 a.m., we've added 16 minutes. So the total, of course, is just going to be what we get if we add 38 and 16. Well, 30 add 10 is 40. 8 add 6 is 14. 40 add 14 is 54 minutes. Therefore, the answer is E. Question 19. The heights in meters of 11 children are 1.32, 1.47, 1.43, 1.32, and we've got quite a long list here. It says, what is the mode height? Now, the definition of the mode means the number that is the most common. There are 3 different words that you might see in relation to this: the most common, or the most frequent, or the most popular. In other words, what is coming up the most? So if we were to list all of these heights and put tallies next to their frequencies to see how often they're appearing, then 1.32 appears the most because it appears a total of 3 times. 1.49 is the next most common because it appears a total of 2 times. The others are appearing once. So as for which one appears the most, it's 1.32, which is option B. Then it says, what is the median height? Now, the median is the middle value when you put everything in order of size. If we go, let's say, smallest to largest, then it's the one that's literally in the middle. So we're starting with the smallest on the left. We're going to be increasing as we go to the right and get to the biggest number. The one that's in the middle is the median. As we've got 11 children, the 6th child's height in order of size is going to be the median. So we need to scan this and see which one is the smallest height. Well, it's 1.32. We've used this. 1.32 again, because that's actually another person. 1.32 again. So for the 3rd time, that's 3 people used up so far. Next, 1.35 looks like the next smallest. I'm ticking them off as we go along to avoid repetition. Can't see any 1.36, but there is a 1.37 there. So that's done. Now, as I mentioned before, the next one is going to be the 6th one, which is going to be the median value. So the next smallest thing that we find is going to be 6th from the left and 6th from the right. And that is 1.43. This is the 6th value, which is the middle of the 11 values. As we know that the median has to be in 6th position out of 11, we don't need to do the remaining 5, which we can see here, but they are all on the upper end, and so above the middle value. Therefore, the answer is C at 1.43. 20. What is the value of 1 squared times 2 squared times 3 squared times 4 squared? Well, squared, this little 2 at the top, means we're multiplying the number by itself. So 1 squared, or 1 times 1, equals 1. 2 squared, or 2 times 2, equals 4. 3 squared, or 3 times 3, equals 9. And finally, 4 squared, or 4 times 4, equals 16. All we need to do is multiply these all by each other, as we've got multiplication signs between each of them. So 1 times anything is the same number. We just need to multiply 4 and 9 and 16. Well, 16 times 4 is 64, so we can just do 64 times 9. 64 times 9. 9 times 4 is 36, so we're ending in 6. The answer cannot be 36 because it's too small, so therefore it has to be D. But let's continue this. 9 times 4 is 36, extra 3. 6 times 9 is 54, and that 3 is indeed 57. So we've verified that D is the correct answer. 21. The pie chart shows the result of a survey of 250 students about their favourite foods. So we've got different options for food here: curry, pasta, pizza, burgers, chips, and different proportions that these are represented by. How many students chose chips? Well, chips is represented by 10% of the population. The population here is 250 students. So we're looking at 10% of 250. 10% is the same as 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 100 or 1/10. So we just need to divide 250 by 10, leaving us with 25. That means it's A. On to part B, it says what angle of the pie chart is represented by pizza? Well, pizza is 20%. 20% is 1/5. But let's put this into context. We're looking at 1/5 of the whole pie chart, of the whole circle, which represents 360 degrees. So 1/5 of 360, where of in maths is multiply. In other words, we can do 360 divided by 5. 5 times 7 makes 35, extra 1. 5 times 2 is 10. Therefore, it's 72 degrees. 22. A roll of wallpaper is 10 meters long and 0.6 meters wide. How many rolls of wallpaper are needed to cover a wall 3 meters high and 8 meters wide? So this question is actually quite nice because everything's given in the same units. So we don't need to convert anything from meters to centimeters or centimeters to meters. Everything is already in meters. So if a roll of wallpaper has an area of 10 times 0.6, then that means if we multiply these two numbers together, 0.6 times 10 simply equals to 6 meters squared. Meanwhile, the total area that we need is 3 times 8. So we need to multiply those together. 3 times 8 equals 24 meters squared. So how many times bigger than 6 meters squared is 24 meters squared? Well, it's 4 times as big. Therefore, the answer is 4, which is B. 23. Find the perimeter of the compound shape. So perimeter means the distance all the way around the shape. So if we know that this length is worth 10, then this length add this length must also be 10. So you'll notice that here it says 4 centimeters. For this other vertical height, though, it doesn't actually specify. We could work that out by saying if the total is 10 and this part is 4, then this must be 10 take away 4, which is 6. But in other words, what we're saying is that these 3 blue lines that I've annotated here, they add up to 10, add 10, which is 20. Now, let's look at this length, which is 8 centimeters. That's the same as these two lengths put together, which also have to be 8 centimeters. 8 times 2 is 16, and 20 add 16 equals to 36. Of course, the unit is centimeters, given that this is perimeter, so 36 centimeters it is. Question 24, we've got 0.6 times 7.12. Now, if we do an estimation and round this 7.12 to just 7, well, 0.6 times 7 would be 4.2, since 6 times 7 is 42, but everything's 10 times smaller. So we're expecting an answer close to 4.2, but a little bit bigger, because instead of multiplying by 7, we're multiplying by 7.12. There's only actually one answer here that has an answer that's a bit bigger than 4.2. The rest of these are very far off, and therefore it has to be A. But if we were to do this methodically, we could think of multiplying all of these digits together and then just seeing how many places we need to adjust this according to the decimal point. So if we look at 712 multiplied by 6, 2 times 6 is 12. We've got an extra 1. 1 times 6 is 6. Add that 1 is 7. 7 times 6 is 42, right? But then we need to convert this number. So we've got 4272. How many decimal places do we have here? 1, 2, 3. So these three digits, last three digits, are going to be decimal places. Decimal point goes over here, therefore, and that gives us the same for 0.272, which we got with option A. 25, P equals to 9A, take away 7B squared. Work out the value of P when A equals to 3 and B equals to -2. This topic is called algebra, where we are replacing these unknown values, these letters, with numbers. So we need to substitute these numbers back into the place of the letter to see what value this gives us overall. While we're doing this, we need to think about the BIDMAS rule. This tells us the order of operations that we're doing. Anything in brackets we do first, followed by indices, which this falls under, the b squared. This means we have to multiply b by itself before multiplying it by -7. We can't do -7b and then square that whole thing. That would be wrong according to the BIDMAS rule. So we'll come back to this. Now let's substitute A with the value of 3. The way this works is we can say P equals to 9 lots of, and we'll put the value of A in brackets to show that it's multiplied, which is 3. Take away 7, B, which is -2. We're replacing B with -2 in the brackets, squared. So this equals to 9 times 3, which is 27. Take away 7 lots of -2 squared. Well, -2 times -2 gives us 4. Because when we're multiplying, if the signs are the same, then we get a positive answer. So here we had -2 times -2. Both of them are minus signs. That's why this gave us a positive answer. If it was 2 times -2, or if it was -2 times 2, the signs would be different, and then you'd get an answer of -4. This is why if we do +2 times +2, we get +4, because the signs are the same when we're multiplying two positive numbers. Here we multiplied two negative numbers and got a positive answer. So we're nearly there. 27 take away 7 times 4, which is 28. So we can say this is 27 take away 28, and that gives us -1. 26, 3/4 plus 0.35. Now, whether or not I do this all in decimals or all in fractions might depend on the answer. We've got everything in fractions in the answers. So you might as well convert this 0.35 to a fraction and say it's 35 out of 100. Meanwhile, this 3/4, if we put that out of 100, is 75 out of 100. So if we're doing 3/4 at 0.35, we are adding 75 hundredths to 35 hundredths. So if we do that and we add these two together, then how many hundredths do we have in total? Well, 75 add 35 is 110. So that's the correct answer in terms of an improper fraction, but we need to simplify this. We need to cancel down, so we need to divide top and bottom by a factor that they both have in common. In this case, they both have zeros on the end. They're both divisible by 10. If we just chop these zeros off and divide top and bottom by 10, we are left with 11/10, which is B. 27. It takes 5 teachers 9 hours to mark a set of examination papers. How long would it take for 12 teachers to mark the same set of examination papers? So 5 teachers take 9 hours. So if we had 1 teacher instead, then that would take 5 times as long, because one person is having to do the job of 5 people. It's going to take 5 times as long. If it takes 5 teachers 9 hours, it's going to take 1 teacher 5 times as long. So 9 times 5 is 45 hours. Now let's upgrade this and say that instead of having 1 teacher, we now have 12 teachers. So if we have 12 teachers, it's going to happen 12 times as fast. The job is being shared now. So whatever 45 hours is, we have to divide that by 12 in order to find out the total time taken when 12 teachers are working together. So 45 divided by 12, if we write that as an improper fraction, we can divide top and bottom by 3, and we're left with 15 over 4. So we've just got 15 divided by 4 left to do. 4 3s are 12. We've got a remainder of 3. 4 7s are 28. We've got a remainder of 2. And there you've got 3.75. So A. Final question 28. The mean of Jane's 6 mathematics tests is 89%. After her 7th test, the mean increased to 90%. What did Jane score in her 7th test? So the way the mean works is the type of average. You add all the numbers together and then you divide by the number of numbers. So if the mean has increased 1% from 89% to 90%, in her 7th test, that means she must have scored 7% more than this test score. So we know that because she sits a 7th test and her score goes up by 1%, she must have had a 7% increase in her 7th test, which is 89 add 7, making 96. So the answer is C. But let's delve a little deeper into why this is the case. So far, if we look at her first 6 tests, what's the total mark for those first 6 tests? If the average was 89, she didn't necessarily have to get 89 6 times. She could have got a variety of scores that averaged out to 89, but the total of those 6 tests has to be 89 times 6. So 9 6s are 54, 4 there, extra 5. 8 times 6 is 48, add 5 is 53. That's the total of her first 6 tests. Now, if we look at the total of all 7 tests, if the mean of those is 90, well, 90 times 7, 0 times 7 is 0, and 9 times 7 is 63, you'll see that to get from 534 to 630, we would need to add 96 anyway. The reason this works is because we've done it as if she got 89 out of 100 or 90 out of 100 or 96 out of 100. So here it's as if she's getting 630 out of 700. Therefore, the answer must be C. So that's it for today's paper, which we started yesterday, the Streatham and Clapham paper. We've now finished section A. If there are any other papers or specific schools that you'd like me to cover, then please do let me know in the comments section. I will try my best to cover them, and I will see you next time.